Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am here with a quick process video. And I just showed two pieces of paper there from October afternoon, and I'm not sure what the other one was. They're just two older papers that I'm using to mat this photo, and I just gutted the papers to do this matting because I wasn't sure which of those papers I was going to use to mat the whole layout with. So I wanted to conserve my paper. That one is the October afternoon. Oh, the other one is the pink paisley memorandum paper. And so I'm just using whites and creams on this to go along with the photo, and then I'm also going to be using a lot of cream. And I start here with this piece of paper that I made. It's a piece of watercolor paper and all these bows. And my idea, the only idea I had in my head was I wanted to do a layout with a bunch of bows on it. And so I pulled every bow I had in my stash, all the different bow products, and I made that background paper with some distress inks and a stencil. And then I wind up not using any of this, but I wanted to show you my process and how I started out thinking and where I wind up. So I made the piece of watercolor paper in the background, and I used the distress ink and the packaging technique and made some splotches there with the I think it was the it was like the violet color distress stain, and I really liked it. I thought it was really pretty, and then I used a stencil to kind of put a lace pattern on there, and I really liked the piece of paper, and I of course saved it to use for another layout. But the colors just weren't going with all the colors of these bows. And you can see that the picture kind of has a more vintage look to it because it's really unsaturated, low contrast. It's got pinks and whites and beige and a little bit of a soft green in there. So it's a really soft photo. And for some reason, this wasn't working for me. I tried turning the paper different ways, and then I thought, no, I'm going to keep the baby in line with the ink that's on the paper, and that was my thought there. And so I go ahead and put it down, and I'm going to stick on this line for a while to try to get this to work. So here are some American Craft bows, the kind of pleather bows, and I like the pink, and then there was kind of that off-white. It looks almost kind of green on this, but it's kind of a beige color, beigey tan color. Then I had those little, I think those are Maggie Holmes little fabric bows that I got at Tuesday Morning. And so I had a couple of those in a hotter pink. Then these are dollar store, those Jot, I think it's called, bows from the dollar store. And I think I was just getting so many kinds that it was all too much, and they started just kind of clashing with each other. So here's where I changed my mind. I just grabbed a piece of white cardstock, just plain white, and then I took some paper from the Heidi Swapp Serendipity collection, and I used my bow dies to just cut out and make a bunch of bows so that I knew with these, I think there's like 3 or 4 pieces of paper here that I used some scraps from what I matted the photo with, and then the Serendipity paper. And I think that gave it the cohesiveness that it needed to work. And I didn't have a bunch. There's not fabric and resin and paper and too many things. You can see I tried to sneak a fabric bow back in there, but every time I tried to put in a different kind of bow, it just didn't work. So somehow the cohesiveness of the paper line and then just using paper bows worked. So I do have a variety of different shapes in these bows, and I think that's what gives it, the interest. And the bow dies that I used are, first of all, the largest bow is the Maggie Holmes from the Style Board die set. It came with like a camera die, a banner, and then the bow. And then that bow right there, that kind of medium size, and that one there, that pink one, those are all from the Memory Box Truly Gifted bows, and they're again kind of three-dimensional, you loop the top, and they're kind of a mid-sized or medium-sized bow that I'm using here. And you'll see after I get these largest and medium ones down, I'll put some smaller ones on top that are just flat, and those smallest ones are from the bow die called Bows from Paper Smooches. So those are the 3 bow die sets that I used, and that one that I'm putting there, that's kind of an open work bow that I'm going to layer on top, that's one from the Paper Smooches. So those are the tiniest one. That one too is a Paper Smooches bow, this one right here. And I'm just layering those on top. I'm not going to make my cluster too large. I'm going to just make it very layered and try to get it intricate and interesting. And so I'm layering some of them on top of others, and just kind of like that one, I put a cream colored bow on top of a pink one and a pink one on top of a cream one, and just kind of interlocking everything so they make one large cluster that kind of cascades from the left down to the right. And I'm really liking how this is going. It's a much softer, the colors all go together. It's interesting, and yet there's not a huge bunch of stuff on this layout. I mean, because I used my die cuts, I'm pretty much just using paper to make this whole layout on a piece of white cardstock. So again, I'm just putting these little tiny bows in there, kind of nestling them, and I'm using hot glue just because the bows with the 3 dimensions, when you loop them around, they want to pop up if you don't get them really tight. So when I made the bows, I used my hot glue, so I just went ahead and stuck everything down with hot glue as well. And I'm just kind of lifting that cluster there on the upper left a little bit higher by putting that kind of beige bow, then just kind of sticking a few more of these little tiny guys in there, kind of mixing my colors up. And I'm really liking how it's coming together, although I realize at this point, I'm kind of got it a little heavy over to the left hand. It's not really centered on the white cardstock anymore, but I know that I'm going to cut that white cardstock down and mount it on that other sheet so I can fix it. When I trim it, I'll trim it on the top and the right, to get it the clustering and the image a little more centered on the page. So this is the cut apart sheet from the Serendipity collection. And so of course, the pinks are going to be the same. It's going to go together. So I'm just kind of sticking with that collection. And I just took out a few here that I'm going to cut out. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use, but I kind of like this "Hello, my name is" sort of thing going on because, it's a new baby. So I take that one off the bottom of the speech bubble, and I like that one because it's just the white and pink. And then I also like this little circle item that I'm cutting out that just says "Love this." And then there were also these little tile letters that said "Sweet." And I thought that might make a nice kind of title. I don't have a really big title on this, but it could be this that is going to say "Hello, my name is," or "My name is," and then Emma. Or it could be "The Sweet." There's no law that says you have to have a big title on your page, thankfully. So I just put foam tape on half of that circle since the baby picture is layered up on foam as well. And again, I'm still using my hot glue just to put down these paper elements. And then I wanted to use something to put in the center of all the bows. So first I think I look at those puffy hearts, but they were more red. So I go through my enamel shapes and think, I'll put some enamel dots. So I'm looking for things that are the right shade of pink. And I go through this for a while, and then I think, what? It needs just a little sparkle. So I wind up actually diving into my rhinestones and pearls, which I don't get into as much as I used to. Once we got the enamel dots, everybody kind of switched over to that, but I do like this extra bit of shine that the rhinestones give. So I went through, I found some different sized pink ones and some just clear ones. And then I found a couple kind of pink pearls. So I think I only have, although I have different sizes, I just have 3 different kinds of things I'm using. The pink rhinestones, the clear rhinestones, and the pink pearls. And I'm just putting bigger ones on the bigger bows, and on the smaller bows I'm putting a little bit smaller size, and then I'm trying to spread them out evenly throughout the bow cluster. And I really just like that little touch that it adds. It's not cluttery. It just adds a little sparkle, a little texture, a little extra interest to that whole cluster, and kind of defines the bows a little more by seeing where the center point is. Since there are so many of them clustered so tightly together, it kind of shows you where the center of each bow is. So there's the pearls. I've just pulled those out. So those are little pink pearls. And it was neat to, you know, go back in and use those that I haven't used for a long time. And again, because they are older product, I went ahead and just used my glue gun as well, because I don't know how good the adhesive is. They still seemed sticky, but you know, these pearls and rhinestones have been in my stash a while, so I just went ahead and used a little bit of hot glue on them. Hot glue works so well. It's just kind of a pain with the little glue strands, but I do clean those up here in a little bit. And there I'm just finishing putting all the little centers in. I even put a center on this one that has other stuff layered over it, but you can kind of see it. So yeah, I had a lot of glue strands, and so I tried picking them off as much as I could. And then I realized I never actually finished gluing the photo down, so I just used a little bit of Scotch Quick Dry. And I pick off as many of the glue strands as I can, and then it works really good to just kind of hit it with your heat tool, and it kind of melts the strands down and makes them go away. So after I get the bulk of it picked off, I just kind of heat the whole thing up, and that kind of takes care of the rest of the glue strands. And then I bring over my paper trimmer, and I trim, since my clustering wound up kind of going over to that left-hand side quite a bit, I chopped off about 1 inch off just the right-hand side, and then I chopped off a portion of that inch off the top and just a little bit off the bottom to just kind of try to center this whole layout a little bit more on the white cardstock. And then I decide that I'm going to mat it on that kind of the October afternoon with the little polka dots, the little kind of gray colored polka dots that I also matted the photo with. And I had taken a little more of the inside of that paper out, so it's kind of thin on that right hand side, because I had taken a little bit more of that in order to get a couple bows out of that paper as well as mat my photo. So I used it to mat my photo, make some bows, and mat my layout. So it's really tight over there. It hardly overlaps at all. So I grab a little bit of washi tape, and I'm just going to tape it on that backhand side to stiffen the whole thing up, since there's not a huge overlap. But I was glad to be able to stretch that one piece of paper for several uses. So now everything looks a little more centered on the whole layout, and I'm liking that. I'm just kind of tacking down these 2 corners. I wanted them a little tighter down. And then I go to my sticker stash, and I find some Tiny Type by Cosmo Cricut in pink that goes really well. And it just has the white letters so I can spell Emma. So it says my name is Emma. And then on the bottom of that sheet, there's also some word fragments. So I thought I'd go ahead and scatter a few of those just to tie that lettering in. And that one says sweet also. So I have sweet on there twice, but I was okay with that. I just tucked it up farther away from that other sweet that's already tucked in there. And I think it says beautiful. And I'm not sure what the other one says. Maybe it says awesome or something, I think. But I just kind of tucked a couple of those in the cluster as well. I'm still thinking about that fabric bow, but it just didn't work. All the other bows that I pulled out were just, it was just too much. Different materials, different colors, different sizes, just too much. So I'm going in my stash to find, because I want to put some ink splatters on this. And so I'm looking around for a pink that'll work. So I'm going to test it. And I'm glad I did, because I tried this one first, but it really kind of soaked into the paper and made kind of a, I don't know, a yucky halo on there, on that particular cardstock. So I was like, ew. And it was really a light pink too. So then I grabbed this one, which is the Starfish, I think from Tattered Angel, but it was like too red. But I liked that it didn't make a halo or soak in a strange way into the paper. So I stuck with Tattered Angels and grabbed two more pink ones. And one of them was a little bit, well, I guess they were both a good pink, but one of them had a gold shimmer to it and one of them had a silver shimmer to it. And so I went with the silver shimmer since I had the kind of clear rhinestones already. I thought that kind of went with it really well. You can't see it a lot, actually. It's very subtle. It looks mostly just like pink sprinkles. So I got quite a bit of it on my hand, so I thought, okay, I'm just better cover it up before I make a mess on my photo. And so I just had some little splatters down in the cluster area. And then I am calling this one done. So I was so glad to be able to do this. Doing a layout with a bunch of bows has been knocking around in my head for a while, so it's nice to be able to get it out of my head and onto a page, although it's not at all what I had in mind. So it's funny how that happens. You have some kind of idea in your head, but when it actually comes out on paper, it winds up looking completely different. So there it is, and you can see how dimensional it is when I hold it up. It's just really cool. All those different bows, and you know, just how intricate it is and how much interest it has. So that is my layout. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you have any questions or anything, just leave me a comment down below, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.